Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, a truck catches fire in Victoria Tuesday morning. A special session of the Texas legislature is underway with two main goals. And a DPS trooper is transported to a hospital after being hit by a vehicle on Interstate 10.
You no doubt felt the humidity today. We're looking for a few showers that are rolling around the area even as we speak. They will collapse once the sun goes down, but fewer are expected for a couple of days. So no rain, but I wouldn't call it dry. We'll be talking more about that coming up.
And a state champion is following her heart and staying close to home instead of traveling cross country for college. We hear why in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker. Karina Garcia is off tonight. A close call for a moving truck this morning. Just before 9:30, the driver noticed smoke and flames coming from the back passenger side wheels of his truck. He was trying to make a delivery to home in the 100 block of Fieldstone Road when he had to call 911.
When I turn around the block, I hear boom, and suddenly I start seeing on the back by my mirrors, and I see the smoke coming out of my tires.
The Victoria Fire Department says the cause of the fire still under investigation, but appears to have started when the front brake drums locked, heating up the wheels and the tires, which started the fire. No one was hurt. The Port Lavaca Fire Department responded to a truck fire on Broadway Street Tuesday morning. The Port Lavaca Wave reports the fire was put out, but authorities warned to be careful traveling down Broadway. Jugging is a crime when a person watches someone visit a bank or an ATM and then follows them to their next stop. They wait for the person to leave so they can break into the vehicle and steal the money. The Victoria Police Department says to hide your money before you leave the bank or ATM. This brings us to your viewer poll. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. Here's the question. Do you fear jugging will become more common in your area? Yes or no? Let's look at the numbers. 74% of our voters say yes, and 25% say no. It just changed on us. It's interesting when that happens live. Okay. Hey, we thank you so much for voting. We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we'll have an update on 25 News now at 10. And now let's take a first look at your forecast. Here's First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. Mac, we are 2 days away from the start of hurricane season, but I saw something in one of your maps there. There's something in the Gulf already.
Yes, there is a spin. It's a wave, but it is not forecast to strengthen. Nonetheless, it will bring Florida some rain early in the season. But this afternoon, we actually popped a couple of showers that we have rolling around out there. Heaviest activity was up in the Wharton area, but 1-2 showers came right close to the city, right about there, and are all moving inland. Now, Cuero could be next. This activity will die down once the sun goes down, but is there any more on the horizon? We'll have that coming up in a moment.
Mac, thank you. Governor Greg Abbott called an immediate special session of the legislature Monday night. The Texas Tribune reports the special session is going on just hours after lawmakers completed the year's regular legislative session without passing numerous key bills. Governor Abbott states the special session will focus only on cutting property taxes and cracking down on illegal human smuggling. Tuesday afternoon, the Senate approved a measure that would lower property tax rates for schools and expand an exemption on the tax bill that saves money for homeowners. The Texas Tribune reports the House planned to take up its own version of property tax relief. Tuesday morning, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said that House Speaker Dade Phelan runs a, quote, dysfunctional chamber, unquote. A DPS trooper was hit by a vehicle and ended up pinned in between cars while helping a drunk driver stuck in the middle of Interstate 10 in Chambers County. KTRK reports the trooper was transported to a hospital, but the driver who crashed into the officer died. Authorities said the trooper was talking and aware of the crash. He suffered lacerations to his face. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 6. Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes is back near her Houston hometown, but now it's in a federal prison. Also ahead, an Austin firefighter stabbed while trying to put out a fire. But first, our May military hero.
Colonel Mike Petrosh is your military hero for the month of May. He was born and raised in Ganado, graduating from Ganado High in 1974, eventually going on to the University of Houston, joining their ROTC program. Then in 1980, he joined the United States Army. Coming from a family of service, with his father serving and many uncles who served in World War II. And it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision.
And I will just tell you from early on, other guys played cowboys and Indians or whatever. I played Army when I was a kid. I saw a T-shirt the other day that says Army, because nobody played Navy as a kid.
And to our Navy viewers out there, don't worry, Petrosh said it's all love.
I love my Navy folks. I will tell you, with us, it's one team, one fight. And we might harass each other, but when it comes down to it, it's kind of like family. Okay, I can mess with my family, but don't mess with my family. You don't mess with my family.
So in 1980, Petrosh joined the United States Army and was a field artilleryman, but would later go on to aviation school, flying the Cobra helicopters and Black Hawks.
I really enjoyed flying the Cobras and shooting things, but flying other soldiers around was really kind of a joy to me. The most meaningful part of my career was the fact that I got to fly with Vietnam veterans, Vietnam Cobra pilots. Oh, they taught me things that you never learned in flight school. It was funny because the warrant officers would go, "Okay, Lieutenant, give me the controls. I'll show you how to really fly this thing."
Working that closely with Vietnam veterans gave him a deep appreciation for that generation of America's soldiers.
You can hate the war. I get that. Don't hate the soldier, And so I just, and that's part of, I guess, my motivation for doing this. I don't want veterans ever to experience what the Vietnam veterans experienced when they came home.
Petrosh was in the Army during times of conflict, Bosnia and Kosovo, Iraqi freedom, and enduring freedom. Though never deployed, he was ready.
People ask me, they said, "Colonel, you ever get deployed?" And I said, no. And I will be honest with you, that is my one regret, because I almost feel like the football player who knows he could play but doesn't ever make it into the big game. I know that might sound weird for folks, but I always wondered, but I mean, I had plenty of soldiers that told me, "Sir, you would do fine."
As he moved up the ranks, he was eventually promoted out of the cockpit, as he said, but continued his service.
My last two jobs were to mobilize, train, and deploy soldiers, and so that was tough. I will tell you, that's the one thing that would keep me up at night, is did I do a good enough job so that I will bring back these soldiers to their families.
He also worked in Germany with their military.
Nobody treats their soldiers as well as the United States, and we've got room to improve. But I've seen how other countries do it, and I'm very proud of the United States for making sure that veterans are treated with respect and that we honor their sacrifices.
Petrosh has a wife and 5 kids and 9 grandchildren, which keeps him busy. But when he's not riding his brand new trike or spending time with family, he's working on Warriors Weekend. That's because Petrosh retired in 2007, but his servant leadership didn't stop there. He brought the Field of Honor and Warriors Weekend to the Crossroads, a huge event that's now on its 17th year in the Crossroads. Petrosh got the idea in 2006 while in South Dakota and saw their version of the Field of Honor when he had to deliver a flag to the family of a young man who was killed in action.
It was just so difficult for them, but at the same time, they knew that there was a brotherhood out there that was grieving with them. And I vowed right then and there, I said, if I ever move down to South Texas, back home, I'm going to bring that idea with me. So in 2009, we did.
In conjunction with the Field of Honor is Warriors Weekend, where wounded warriors from all over the country are flown in to enjoy a weekend of fishing in Port O'Connor. This year bringing in over 300 warriors to the Crossroads, all expenses paid.
Most of these guys that are coming in probably had a friend who came home under that flag.
And he couldn't do it alone, wanting to thank all his supporters and volunteers who make Warriors Weekend possible every year.
I have so many wonderful, selfless volunteers that come out and make all this happen. Props to Ron Koshin and the board of Warriors Weekend, the corporate sponsors, all the individual sponsors who donate their money and their resources so that we can do this every year. You know, this is the 17th year.
This year saw 1,540 flags, but Petrosh hopes to include every Golden Crescent veteran.
Now, with the numbers of veterans that are here in the Golden Crescent, I should probably have a 10,000 flag field. And hopefully that'll happen one of these days. You know, maybe somebody watching this will go, hey, you know what? I need to catch the Colonel's vision for a huge field out there. Let's do it. Let's do it, Victoria. Let's do it, Golden Crescent. And we'd have us a 10,000 flag field out there. That's the goal. No veteran left behind.
So thank you, Colonel Petrosh, for your service and your continued service to bring the Field of Honor to the Crossroads. To find out more about that amazing annual local event, you can check them out at warriorsweekend.org or come to our website, crossroadstoday.com. Adam Seibel reporting in Victoria, KAVU TV 25 News Now.
CEO Elizabeth Holmes in custody at a federal prison in Bryan. That's where she will spend the next 11 years, serving her sentence for overseeing an infamous blood testing hoax. Holmes entered the minimum security federal women's prison camp Tuesday. The arrival comes more than a year after a jury convicted Holmes on 4 felony counts of fraud and conspiracy in January 2022. She was sentenced to prison time in November. An Austin firefighter recovering at home after someone stabbed him while responding to calls. KXAN reports crews went to put out several fires along U.S. Interstate 35 near the Riverside Drive exit. While working there, a person approached the crews, became violent and aggressive, and eventually stabbed one of the firefighters in the thigh. Authorities say the firefighter has non-life-threatening injuries and a suspect is in custody. U.S. Congressman District 27 Michael Cloud spoke out Tuesday against the compromise bill to raise the debt ceiling that House Republicans released on Sunday. The bill faces its first major test in the House Rules Committee. The bill would end the pause on federal student loan payments. Borrowers will be required to resume paying their student loan bills 60 days after June 30th.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Looking good out there. Lots of sun, but there are actually some thunder showers rolling around the area right about now. That activity will weaken. In fact, we'll have fewer showers for the next couple of days until we get to the weekend. So there's lots of weather to talk about. Of course, we'll take a look at what's happening in the tropics as well. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more coming up after this.
Hi, I'm Detective Kelly Gibbs with the Victoria Police Department. Victoria Crime Stoppers is requesting information about the murder of Robert Lucirio. On October 24, 2003, 15-year-old Robert Lucirio was shot and killed. He was in an apartment on the 3100 block of Sam Houston Drive. If you have any information about Lucirio's death, please call Victoria Crime Stoppers at 572-4200 or submit a tip by using the P3 tip app on your Android or Apple device, or by visiting our website at www.crimestoppersvictoria.com. All tips are anonymous, and if you give information that leads to an arrest or charges being filed, you could earn a cash reward. With the Victoria Police Department, I'm Detective Kelly Gibbs.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. You probably felt the heat and humidity over the weekend. Don, I planted a little tree. I perspired. I thought I was going to die.
Oh, my
It was like
gosh.
my shirt, I was completely soaked because the humidity is up, and that's what we get around here this time of year. Now, temperature is 85, and of course it feels like 89. That's not a problem. 90 isn't really, I mean, it's not a problem. I mean, you can feel it. But when you get to 98, 100, 103, then that's when the heat index becomes a serious problem, and you really just have to take it easy. What it's telling you is that your body is producing perspiration, but this perspiration is not evaporating, and that's what cools you down normally. So let's just be cautious, because the heat can get to you. Got up to 89 this afternoon. We had a low of 67, right at normal. So these are early summer temperatures, and we're going to be with them for quite some time. Here's Victoria, and as you can see, we had a couple thunderstorms rolled through Bay City right about there. We had one that just skirted the city right about there, and then it moved on. Looks like Cuero or Yorktown is next over there. This is what I call garden variety stuff, because it kicks up with the heat and the humidity. And then once the sun goes down, they sort of collapse and they will be falling apart pretty soon. And they were only along the crossroads, Golden Crescent, if you like. Here's San Antonio. We see to the west lots of activity up here. None of it is moving in our direction, which is good. Now, we talked about the dry line here. You can see that right there. Boom, almost a straight line of thunderstorms popping right at the convergence of that humid air and the dry air from the desert. So you can almost do a direct line. You could get a protractor and do that. Guess nobody knows what a protractor is. Don knows. Don. Anyway, so we are looking at the heavier activity, which actually rolled northward. Here's Wharton, and you can see the bigger thunderstorms, but even those are beginning to collapse as well, so we're in much better shape. Severe thunderstorms up here. This is a high heat advisory, and these areas of Dallas, East Texas, and Houston are air pollution advisories because there's not enough wind. You know, normally the wind blows from the Gulf 25, 35 miles an hour. When it's less than 10 miles an hour, then all that stuff we produce every day out of the back end of your car just sort of hangs there, and it starts cooking into other products that are not good for you. All right, so we're going to take a look at what to expect for the next couple of days. Dry line continues. Showers will move in, but they're going to be moving into an area of higher pressure right about here, and you can see how they're going to fall apart. So we're going to be under this little, shall we say, little dome that's going to protect us from any significant thunderstorms for the next couple of days. And I got to show you this one. I'm sorry, I was blocking that. Let me do this again. I'm going to do this again. Ready? All right, here we go. You got to watch this because this area could scare you off. I mean, it's a definite circulation. It is not expected to become a tropical system. Regardless, it's going to produce very heavy rain over Florida very early in the season. Here's your planner for Cuero, getting up to 71 in the morning, 86 by the afternoon, and then your high temperatures will hover right at about 90. Beginning on Saturday, we start picking some scattered showers around the area. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody that we do have a QR code. I want you to scan that and put Crossroads Today on the phone. And now we'll toss it back to Don.
Thank you, Mac. Mac was talking about the heat. Sports director Gino Perez is here to talk about the heat.
Yeah, the Heat and the Comanches are also hot, and they're looking to make it back to the state tournament for the third straight year. That's coming up in sports. At Crossroads, a local two-time state champion is deciding to stay close to home instead of heading cross-country to continue her powerlifting career in college. Instead, she has bigger plans. Alyssa Salceda has dominated the state powerlifting meet the past 2 seasons by breaking multiple state records along with winning back-to-back state titles. She had multiple offers and even got accepted to Midland University in Fremont, Nebraska, which is one of the best powerlifting programs in the nation, but decided to turn them down for a local school. Her reason? To start a powerlifting program at UHV.
I like the environment. Like, everybody is so nice and happy to be there. and they're really helpful. They've helped me like through every single step, like financial aid and like starting this team and just walking through the campus. They're like the best people to be around.
Salceda is in communication with the administrators and school body to try to make her dream come true of creating a powerlifting team, being a coach/lifter, and help lead them to a national championship. Until then, she wants to keep her grades up and build up her wealth. She said it was not all sunshine and rainbows to get where she is today.
I would say it was a series of ups and downs, a bunch of hills and valleys, but especially looking back now, it's kind of like I'm glad that those 2 years of being in the valley were there, because I would not be the person that I am today on top of the hill, living how I am if I didn't go through that.
Salceda is undecided on what she is going to major in at UHV, but is leaning towards ministry or kinesiology. Then there was one. The lone Crossroads area team still alive in the playoffs are the Shiner Comanches baseball team. The Comanches are heading to the regional finals and are 1 game away from making it back to the state tournament for the 3rd straight year. Shiner is coming off its 2-game sweep over Mumford to make the 5th round. The Comanches will head down to Marion for the start of a 3-game series. Game 1 against Johnson City, the Eagles, is going to be on Thursday with first pitch at 7 o'clock. Game 2 will be Friday at 5 o'clock, and if needed, Game 3 will follow shortly after. Well, the NBA Finals is set, and the 2 teams playing for the coveted Larry O'Brien Trophy are the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. The Heat are getting 3 days of rest compared to the Nuggets, who are getting nearly 10 days of rest. Each of their series have gone very different. The Nuggets swept the LA Lakers in 4 games, while the Heat almost blew a 3-0 lead against the Boston Celtics. The 2 will meet Thursday in Denver with a 7:30 tip-off. Don, my prediction is the Nuggets are going to win the title, but I would like to see the series to be close, and then ultimately I'd like to see Miami win it. What about you? Any predictions?
Gino, I predict that every game in the NBA Finals can be seen right here on KAVU TV with Game 1 Thursday night. All right, we're back in a moment. A 102-year-old Army veteran from Ohio heading back to the beaches of Normandy.
25 News Now brings you Storm Prep 2023. Your first warned storm team will take us through this year's hurricane predictions. Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez speaks with descendants of Indianola, a town that was wiped out from back-to-back hurricanes. Adarius McCormick explains just how simple evacuating really is. June 5th on KAVU TV at 6:30 p.m. Storm Prep 2023. Stream it live or on demand on Crossroads Today Plus. View it and our Crossroads Today YouTube page.
102-year-old Army veteran from Ohio heading back overseas to the beaches of Normandy for the first time in nearly 8 decades. Richard Stewart is the oldest and one of just a few African-American veterans who will travel to the beaches of Normandy for the 79th anniversary of the invasion. His son Samuel, also a veteran, is making the trip too. Stewart will leave today from Cincinnati and will be in France for the ceremony on June 6th. Now, Mr. Stewart, what he did there on Normandy was he was a communications person. He was out there stringing the wire in between the radios to keep that going.
Yeah,
And, amazing story.
That's one of the amazing things that we forget. There was no wireless cell phones.
No.
There was one guy with a phone and one guy with a coil running to the other guy. That was what's amazing.
Yeah.
And he was one of the guys with the coils.
Well, God bless. Perfect for Memorial Day weekend. We wish him well.
Yes.
Well, folks, the summer heat is on. I'm showing you the tropics because generally quiet right now, although there's one system that is sort of getting its thing together for Florida. We don't have to worry about it. Otherwise, we're looking for less rain showers the next 3 days, and then the weekend, we'll just pick up a few little light showers. No big storms on the way.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tonight for 25 News Now at 10.